Captain Lee Dong-soo sat in his command chair aboard the orbital defense station Aegis Prime. The stars looked peaceful through the thick glass windows. He had been watching space for 3 years now, and nothing exciting ever happened. Most days he just checked reports and made sure the communication systems worked properly. Today felt different. The warning lights on his control panel started flashing red. Every screen in the command center lit up at once. Emergency signals came from every corner of the galaxy. Lee Dong-soo had never seen anything like it. "Captain, we're getting a forced broadcast signal," said his communications officer. "It's coming through every channel at once. Someone is overriding all galactic networks." Lee Dong-soo stood up quickly. "Put it on the main screen." The large display showed a massive alien figure sitting on a golden throne. The creature had purple skin and 4 arms. Its eyes glowed like red fire. This was Emperor Vextar of the Valerian Empire. Lee Dong-soo recognized him from the diplomatic files. "Citizens of the galaxy," Emperor Vextar said in a deep, cold voice. "Today you will witness what happens to those who refuse our generous offers." The screen changed to show a beautiful green planet. Cities covered the surface like jewels. Billions of people lived there in peace. Lee Dong-soo knew this place. It was Kepler 442b, a farming world that grew food for many other planets. "The humans of Kepler 442b refused to give us their quantum grain harvests," the Emperor continued. "They said their people needed the food more than we did. They chose defiance over wisdom." What happened next made Lee Dong-soo feel sick to his stomach. Valerian warships appeared in the sky above the peaceful cities. They did not fire weapons at military targets. Instead, they began killing everyone they could see. Men, women, children, elderly people, nobody was spared. The aliens used energy weapons that burned people to ash in seconds. The cameras showed everything. Families running through streets, parents trying to protect their children. People crying and screaming as the ships hunted them down like animals. The Valerians killed slowly, making sure everyone suffered. 10 billion people, Emperor Vextar said as the slaughter continued on screen. 10 billion lives ended because their leaders were foolish. This is what defiance costs. Lee Dong-soo watched in horror as an entire world died. The killing went on for hours. The Valerians did not stop until every city was empty and every farm was burned. They made sure the galaxy saw every death. Far below on Earth, Dr. Park Min-ho sat in the United Earth Command bunker deep under Seoul. He was supposed to be working on peaceful contact with alien species. Instead, he watched the worst thing he had ever seen. Park Min-ho had spent 5 years learning about different alien cultures. He thought most species in the galaxy were reasonable. The Valerians had seemed difficult but not evil when they first contacted Earth 6 months ago. They wanted Earth to pay them tribute and follow their rules, but that seemed normal for a big empire. This broadcast changed everything. "Dr. Park," said his assistant, her voice shaking, "the Valerian fleet is moving toward our solar system. Intelligence reports say they will arrive in 3 weeks. Park Min-ho felt his blood turn cold. The message was clear. Earth had 2 choices: surrender completely or die like the people of Kepler 442b. Admiral Kim So-young burst into the bunker's main command room. She had been in a meeting with other military leaders when the broadcast started. Her face was pale but determined. "Call an emergency session of the Global Defense Council," she ordered. "Get every world leader on a secure channel. We need to talk right now." Within an hour, presidents, prime ministers, and generals from every nation on Earth joined the emergency meeting. They all watched the terrible broadcast together. Nobody spoke for a long time after it ended. "How many ships do they have?" asked President Yoon Jae-min. "Intelligence says about 2,000 warships heading our way," Admiral Kim So-young replied. "Each one is bigger and more advanced than anything we've built." "What about our defenses?" asked another leader. "We have 300 ships. Our weapons are weaker than theirs. Our shields are older technology. In a normal fight, we would lose badly." The room fell silent again. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth could not win a fair fight against the Valerian Empire. President Yoon Jae-min stood up slowly. He looked older than he had that morning. "There is something we need to discuss. Something we hoped never to use." He pressed a button on his desk. New files appeared on everyone's screens. The words, "Top Secret, Operation Alien Extinct," showed at the top. "For 30 years since we first detected alien signals, our best scientists and generals have been working on a secret project," the president explained. We studied every piece of alien technology we could find. We learned about their biology, their ships, their weapons, everything. Admiral Kim So-young took over the explanation. We built weapons designed specifically to fight aliens. Not just the Valerians, but any hostile species we might encounter. We hoped never to use them. Dr. Park Min-ho read through the files quickly. His eyes grew wide. These weapons, they're designed to kill entire species. Yes, President Yoon Jae-min said firmly. The Valerians just showed us what they do to peaceful worlds. They killed 10 billion innocent people and broadcast it to scare everyone else. They want us to surrender without a fight. The president looked around the room at all the world leaders. I'm asking for authorization to activate Operation Alien Extinct. Not just to defend Earth, but to make sure this never happens to anyone else. One by one, every leader voted yes. Admiral Kim So-young opened a direct communication line to the secret military bases hidden around Earth and throughout the solar system. Bases that officially did not exist. Weapons that had never been tested in real combat. This is Admiral Kim So-young, she said into the communicator. Authorization code Alpha 77 Black. Operation Alien Extinct is now active. Begin Phase 1 immediately. In hidden bunkers across Earth, scientists and soldiers who had worked in secret for decades finally started their real mission. The Valerians thought they were coming to conquer a weak species. They had no idea what humans could do when they got angry. The peaceful blue planet that looked so helpless from space was about to show the galaxy something new. Something the aliens had never seen before. The humans were ready for war. General Choi Hyun-woo walked through the secret underground facility, buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. For 28 years, he had been building humanity's most dangerous weapons in complete secrecy. Today, those weapons would finally be used. The facility was huge. It stretched for miles in every direction, filled with laboratories, factories, and testing chambers. Thousands of scientists and engineers worked here, but their families thought they had normal jobs in other places. Even most government officials did not know this place existed. Show them everything, General Choi told his assistant as world leaders connected to the secure video system. President Yoon Jae-min appeared on the main screen, along with other leaders from around Earth. Their faces were grim. They had all seen the Valerian broadcast. They knew what was coming. General Choi, the president said, "Tell us what we have." General Choi pressed a button. The walls around him became transparent, showing the massive weapon production facility. For 30 years, we have been preparing for this exact situation. We studied every alien species we could contact. We learned their weaknesses. Professor Nam Soo-jin joined the video call from her laboratory. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and determined. Behind her, scientists worked on strange-looking devices. The aliens made a mistake, Professor Nam said. They became too advanced. They forgot how to fight dirty. She held up a metal cylinder about the size of a baseball. This is a relativistic kill vehicle. We accelerate it to 90% of light speed using our mass drivers. When it hits an alien ship, it goes right through their shields like they don't exist. Admiral Kim So-young studied the weapon data on her screen. How is that possible? Their shields can stop our strongest energy weapons. Because their shields are designed to stop energy, Professor Nam explained. They never learned to stop solid objects moving at incredible speeds. It's like trying to stop a bullet with a flashlight. General Choi walked to another section of the facility. Here, Dr. Shin Yuri worked with her team on biological weapons. She wore a full protective suit as she handled sealed containers. Dr. Shin, show them what you've developed, General Choi said. Dr. Shin held up a small glass vial filled with what looked like ordinary water. This contains engineered bacteria that attack Valerian respiratory systems. We learned about their biology from trade delegates who visited Earth. She explained how Valerian lungs worked differently from human lungs. They breathed a mixture of methane and oxygen, which made them vulnerable to certain types of Earth bacteria that had been modified in the laboratory. One drop of this in their air supply will kill an entire ship crew within hours, Dr. Shin said. It spreads through their ventilation systems. They won't even know they're under attack until it's too late. Commander Bae Jun-ho appeared on screen from the secret space dock hidden behind Jupiter's largest moon. Behind him, workers finished building ships that looked completely different from normal human vessels. Our new stealth ships are ready, Commander Bae reported. We studied Valerian sensor technology for years. These ships are invisible to their detection systems. He explained how human engineers had discovered that alien sensors looked for specific energy signatures. The new human ships produced completely different energy patterns that alien computers could not recognize. To their sensors, our ships look like empty space, Commander Bay said. We can get right next to their fleet without them knowing we're there. Captain Oh Dong-min stood on the bridge of one of these stealth ships. The Silent Fury looked strange compared to normal human vessels. Its hull was covered in special materials that absorbed energy instead of reflecting it. We've been testing these ships for 5 years, Captain Oh reported. The Valyrians have no idea we can do this. They still think we're a primitive species with weak technology. General Choi showed the world leaders more weapons, asteroid mining stations that could launch rocks at incredible speeds, factories that produced millions of small drones designed to overwhelm alien defenses, chemical weapons that could poison entire planets. The Valyrians think war is about having the biggest energy weapons and the strongest shields, General Choi explained. They forgot that war is really about making your enemy dead while keeping yourself alive. Professor Nam brought up tactical displays, showing how the weapons would work together. We don't fight fair. We don't give warnings. We don't follow their rules of war. We hit them with everything at once using weapons they've never seen before. Dr. Park Min-ho, who was still in the Soul Bunker, studied all the weapon reports. As a scientist who had worked for peace, seeing these terrible weapons made him uncomfortable. But remembering the broadcast of 10 billion people dying made him understand why they were necessary. General, Dr. Park said, are we sure these weapons will work? We've never tested them against real Valyrian ships. That's about to change, General Choi replied. He turned to Captain Oh. Captain, you have authorization to engage the Valyrian scout fleet. Show us what these weapons can do. Captain Oh smiled grimly. Yes, sir. The scouts are 3 days away from Earth. They think they're safe because we can't detect them. On the bridge of the Silent Fury, Captain Oh gave orders to his crew. They had trained for this moment for years, but nobody had ever used these weapons in real combat. Take us to stealth mode, Captain Oh ordered. Approach the scout fleet from their blind side. Load all kinetic weapons. Prepare biological packages for deployment. The Silent Fury moved through space like a ghost. Its advanced engines made no sound and left no energy trail. To the Valyrian scouts, it simply did not exist. Commander Bay tracked the engagement from the hidden base. Silent Fury is in position. Valyrian scouts still have no idea they're being hunted. The Valyrian scout fleet consisted of 50 ships. They were advanced vessels with powerful weapons and strong shields. Their crews felt confident as they approached the primitive human world. Firing kinetic weapons, Captain O reported. The Silent Fury launched a dozen metal cylinders, each one accelerated to incredible speed by magnetic coils. The projectiles crossed space in seconds. The first Valyrian ship exploded without warning. Its shields, designed to stop energy weapons, could not slow down the kinetic projectiles. The metal cylinders punched through the hull like it was made of paper. What was that? The Valyrian commander demanded. His sensors showed nothing but empty space. More ships exploded. The kinetic weapons struck faster than the aliens could react. Their advanced computers could not understand what was happening. Deploy biological packages, Captain O ordered. The Silent Fury released dozens of small containers that drifted toward the remaining Valyrian ships. The containers looked like space debris, so the alien sensors ignored them. When the containers touched the Valyrian hulls, they released Dr. Shin's engineered bacteria. The organisms spread through the ship's air systems within minutes. Valyrian crew members began coughing and choking. Their lungs burned as the bacteria attacked their respiratory systems. Ship after ship went silent as their crews died. In less than 1 hour, the entire Valyrian scout fleet was destroyed. 50 advanced warships reduced to drifting metal wreckage. 0 human casualties. This is Captain O, came the report back to Earth. All targets eliminated. The enemy never knew what hit them. Admiral Kim So-young watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Phase 1 is complete. The scouts are gone, and the main Valyrian fleet still thinks we're helpless. General Choi looked at the world leaders on the video screens. That was just the beginning. We have weapons that make this look like a small test. When the main Valyrian fleet arrives, they're going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity. President Yoon Jae-min nodded grimly. Begin Phase 2 preparations. And General, make sure the galaxy sees what we do to the Valyrians. It's time everyone learned that humans are not victims. The secret weapons of Earth were no longer secret. The real war was about to begin. Ambassador Ryu Taeho sat in the Earth's diplomatic center, watching as communication requests flooded in from across the galaxy. In the past 24 hours, since news of the destroyed Valerian scout fleet had spread, every species in known space wanted to talk to humanity. Ambassador, his assistant said, looking overwhelmed, we have urgent messages from 47 different worlds. They're all asking the same thing. Ryu Taeho read through the messages quickly. The Carillion Republic wanted to know if Earth would help them fight Valerian occupation forces. The Deneb Mining Collective begged for protection against Valerian tax collectors. The peaceful Tau Ceti farmers asked if humans could save their children from Valerian slave ships. For centuries, these species had lived under Valerian rule. They paid tribute, followed orders, and watched their people suffer. Nobody had ever successfully fought back against the Empire. Now suddenly a small planet called Earth had destroyed 50 Valerian ships without losing a single vessel. Send the same message to all of them, Ryu Taeho decided. Tell them that humanity remembers what the Valerians did to Kepler 442b. Tell them we will not let it happen again. On the other side of the galaxy, Emperor Vextar smashed his golden throne room in rage. His forearms swept valuable objects off tables as he screamed at his military commanders. How did primitive humans destroy an entire scout fleet? He demanded. You told me their technology was hundreds of years behind ours. General Kothvar, the Emperor's top military leader, studied the reports nervously. My lord, our scouts sent no distress signals. They simply disappeared. We found wreckage but no clues about what weapons were used. I don't care about clues. Emperor Vexistar roared. I want those humans crushed. Send the Crimson Fleet immediately. The Crimson Fleet was the Empire's most feared military force. 500 of their most advanced warships commanded by the best officers in the Valerian military. They had never lost a battle. Entire species surrendered just hearing their name. Admiral Kim So-young watched the approaching fleet through Earth's long-range sensors. The Valerian ships were massive and heavily armed. Under normal circumstances, they could destroy Earth's entire defense force easily. But these were not normal circumstances. Begin Phase 2 deployment, Admiral Kim ordered. Launch the asteroid swarms. Colonel Park Chan-woo commanded the operation from a hidden base in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. For years, human engineers had been secretly installing engines and weapons on thousands of asteroids. Asteroid Swarm Alpha. Launch, Colonel Park ordered. Throughout the asteroid belt, rocks that had drifted in space for millions of years suddenly came to life. Hidden engines fired, accelerating the asteroids toward the incoming Valerian fleet. Each rock contained nuclear weapons and guidance systems. The Valerians detected the asteroids on their sensors, but their computers classified them as natural space debris. Asteroids moved slowly and posed no threat to advanced starships. The Valerian fleet continued forward without changing course. Asteroid Swarm Beta. Launch, Colonel Park commanded. More rocks began moving toward the Crimson Fleet. The human strategy was simple but devastating. Accelerate thousands of asteroids to incredible speeds, then crash them into enemy ships. The Valerians' energy shields could not stop solid objects traveling at such velocities. Dr. Zhang Haijin worked aboard the research vessel Darwin's Revenge, preparing the biological component of the attack. She had spent 3 years developing new versions of the bacteria that killed Valerian scout crews. Release biological packages into their supply route, Dr. Zhang ordered her team. The Darwin's Revenge deployed hundreds of small containers along the path the Valerian fleet would take to reach Earth. The containers looked like space junk, but they contained Dr. Shin's improved bacteria. When Valerian ships passed through the area, their hull plating would pick up the organisms. Lieutenant Lee Sun-woo prepared for the most dangerous part of the mission. He wore one of humanity's new phase suits, technology reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment. The suit allowed him to walk through solid matter for short periods. Boarding teams ready, Lieutenant Lee reported from his stealth ship. We'll plant charges inside their ships while they're still trying to figure out what's happening. The Crimson Fleet was still 3 days away from Earth when the asteroid swarms reached them. The first impacts caught the Valerians completely by surprise. What are those? Demanded Admiral Torvex, commander of the Crimson Fleet, as his ship's alarms began blaring. Asteroids, sir, his sensor officer replied, confused. But they're moving too fast, and they seem to be targeting our ships deliberately. The first asteroid struck a Valerian battleship at 90% of light speed. The massive warship, protected by the strongest shields in the galaxy, was torn apart like paper. The asteroid punched through the hull and exploded inside the ship, destroying it completely. More asteroids followed, each one guided by human computers, each one carrying enough explosive power to destroy a city. The Valerian fleet tried to shoot down the incoming rocks, but there were too many moving too fast. "Our weapons can't stop them," reported a panicked Valerian captain. "The asteroids are too small and too numerous." While the fleet dealt with the asteroid attack, Dr. Jiang's biological weapons began working. Valerian ships that had passed through the contaminated areas started reporting crew members getting sick. The bacteria spread through life support systems, attacking alien respiratory systems. Medical emergency on Deck 7. Came reports from dozens of Valerian ships. "Crew members are having trouble breathing." Lieutenant Lee's boarding teams used the confusion to infiltrate enemy vessels. Their phase suits allowed them to walk through Valerian hull plating without setting off security alarms. They planted explosive charges and additional biological weapons inside the ships. The Valerian crews never saw them coming. One moment a ship would be fighting asteroid impacts. The next moment it would explode from charges placed inside its reactor core. Admiral Torvex watched his fleet being destroyed piece by piece. In 6 hours of combat, he had lost over 300 ships. The humans had used weapons and tactics that Valerian military doctrine said were impossible. "Retreat," Admiral Torvex ordered. "All ships retreat immediately." But it was too late. More asteroid swarms were already in motion, targeting the fleeing Valerian vessels. The rocks followed the alien ships like guided missiles, striking them even as they tried to escape. Captain Song Mi-kyung received the galaxy's first surrender from her command post on the lunar base. A Valerian mining colony in the Alpha Centauri system sent a desperate message. "Please don't kill us," the message said. "We surrender to the human forces. We will lay down our weapons and follow your orders." The news spread through galactic communication networks faster than light travel. The mighty Crimson Fleet had been destroyed. Only 12 Valerian ships had escaped back to their empire, carrying impossible stories about human weapons that defied all known science. Ambassador Ryu Tai-ho broadcast humanity's response to the galaxy. "The Valerian Empire showed you what happens to the innocent. Now we show you what happens to the guilty." Species across the galaxy watched in amazement as the humans did something no one thought possible. They had not just defended themselves against the Valerians. They had won a complete victory against the galaxy's most feared military force. "Any world that wants freedom from Valerian rule has our protection," Ryu Tai-ho announced. "Any species that chooses peace over conquest has our friendship. But any empire that murders billions of innocent people will face the same fate as the Crimson Fleet." On worlds throughout Valerian space, enslaved populations began to hope for the first time in centuries. The humans had proven that the Empire could be defeated. The galaxy's bullies were not invincible after all. Emperor Vextar stared at the reports from his surviving ships. According to his commanders, the humans had weapons that could punch through any shield, kill crews without damaging ships, and strike from impossible distances. "Impossible," he whispered. But the evidence was clear. In one battle, Earth had destroyed 97% of his most elite fleet. The Valerian Empire had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. Now for the first time they were the ones who were afraid. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what the humans would do next. The species that had seemed weak and primitive just weeks ago had become the galaxy's new apex predator. And they were just getting started. Senator Lim Jun-suk stood before the United Earth Assembly, looking out at representatives from every nation on the planet. The Great Hall was packed with world leaders, military commanders, and scientists. Everyone wanted to hear about humanity's next move. "The Valerian Empire has ruled through terror for 1,000 years, Senator Lim announced. "They have enslaved entire species, murdered billions of innocent people, and spread fear across the galaxy. Today we end their reign forever." The Assembly voted unanimously to approve the Liberation Protocol. Earth would not just defend itself against the Valerians. They would hunt down every Valerian stronghold in the galaxy and free every enslaved world. Admiral Kang Dahai reviewed the battle plans from her flagship, the Soul's Fury. Around her, the largest human fleet ever assembled prepared for war. 1,000 ships filled the space around Earth, each one armed with the devastating weapons that had destroyed the Crimson Fleet. "We're not just fighting a war," Admiral Kang told her officers. "We're performing surgery. We're cutting out a cancer that has infected the galaxy for too long." The fleet included ships of every type, stealth vessels that could approach enemy positions without being detected, kinetic weapons platforms that could accelerate asteroids to incredible speeds, biological warfare ships that could poison entire planets, and massive carriers filled with boarding teams ready to capture Valerian facilities. Major Cho Sung-hyun commanded the terror raid squadrons, small teams of elite human soldiers equipped with the most advanced technology Earth could produce. Their job was to strike fear into Valerian hearts the same way the Empire had terrorized others. "Remember," Major Cho told his troops, "we don't just want to win. We want them to be afraid. Every Valerian who survives our attack should spend the rest of their life jumping at shadows." The first terror raid targeted a Valerian military base in the Proxima Centauri system. 12 human soldiers in phase suits infiltrated the base, moving through walls like ghosts. They planted explosive charges in critical systems and released biological weapons into the air supply. The entire base was destroyed within hours. 3,000 Valerian soldiers died without the humans losing a single person. When rescue ships arrived, they found only empty buildings and a message written in Valerian script. The ghost death was here. Dr. Moon Ji-won worked in her laboratory on the most important project of the war. Using genetic samples collected from Valerian diplomats over the years, she was creating the ultimate biological weapon, a virus designed specifically to kill Emperor Vextar himself. "This isn't just warfare," Dr. Moon explained to her research team. "This is personal. The Emperor ordered the murder of 10 billion innocent people. He needs to pay for that crime." The virus was engineered to target the Emperor's unique genetic markers. It would kill only him, leaving other Valerians unharmed. Dr. Moon wanted the galaxy to see that human justice could be both precise and absolute. Captain Han Seok-jin led the assault on Valeria Prime, the Empire's capital world. His fleet of 200 ships approached the heavily defended planet, using tactics that Valerian military commanders could not understand. Instead of engaging the orbital defenses directly, the human ships launched thousands of asteroids at the planet. Each rock was accelerated to incredible speed and aimed at specific targets on the surface. "Sir," reported a panicked Valerian defender, "the asteroids are ignoring our shield generators and hitting military targets directly." The humans had studied Valerian defensive strategies for years. They knew exactly how to bypass the Empire's strongest weapons. Within 6 hours, every military installation on Valeria Prime was destroyed. But Captain Han was not finished. His ships then released Dr. Shin's improved biological weapons into the planet's atmosphere. The bacteria was designed to be harmless to most life forms but deadly to Valerians. "Attention, Valeria Prime," Captain Han broadcast to the planet. "You have 48 hours to evacuate all civilian areas. After that, your atmosphere will become toxic to your species." The message sent shockwaves through the Valerian population. For the first time in their history, their home world was under attack. Panic spread through the cities as people tried to flee. Emperor Vextar watched the destruction from his palace, unable to believe what was happening. His most powerful fleets had been destroyed. His strongest worlds were falling one by one. The humans seemed to have unlimited resources and weapons that defied all logic. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his remaining military advisors. "Our technology is supposed to be superior." "Sir," one admiral replied nervously, "our intelligence was wrong. The humans aren't primitive. They've been preparing for this war for decades. They know our weaknesses better than we do." As the deadline approached, Emperor Vexitar made his final broadcast to the galaxy. He appeared on screens across Valerian space, trying to project strength even as his empire crumbled around him. "The humans think they can defeat us with their cowardly weapons," he declared. "They think they can poison our worlds and hide in the shadows. But the Valerian Empire has survived for 1,000 years. We will—" The Emperor suddenly stopped speaking. His forearms clutched at his throat as he began coughing violently. Purple blood ran from his mouth as his body convulsed. Dr. Moon's virus had finally reached him. The engineered organism attacked his cellular structure, causing rapid organ failure. The Emperor who had ordered the deaths of billions was dying live on Galactic television. This is impossible." Emperor Vextar gasped as he collapsed. "How did they—" "Get to me here." The palace's medical systems activated automatically, but they could not help. The virus was too specifically designed. It destroyed only the Emperor's genetic markers, leaving everyone else unharmed. Emperor Vextar died in agony as the galaxy watched. His death took less than 10 minutes from the first. Symptoms to his final breath, Commander. Yang Yun-su interrupted the Emperor's death broadcast with a message from Earth. Her face appeared on every screen in Valerian space, calm and determined. You thought 10 billion dead was a warning, Commander Yang said. We are the consequence. Your Emperor is dead. Your fleets are destroyed. Your worlds are falling. This is what happens when you choose genocide over mercy. Across the galaxy, enslaved populations erupted in celebration. Species that had lived in terror for centuries saw their oppressor die in front of them. The mighty Valerian Empire was collapsing, and humanity was leading the liberation. On Valeria Prime, the remaining government officials surrendered unconditionally. The planet's atmosphere had become toxic to their species, just as Captain Han had promised. Those who survived did so only in sealed environments, completely dependent on human mercy for their continued existence. Admiral Kang Da-hai received surrender messages from Valerian worlds throughout the galaxy. Military commanders who had once terrorized entire star systems now begged for their lives. We surrender, came message after message. Please don't use the ghost death on us. We will follow human orders. The terror raids continued across Valerian space. Major Cho's teams struck military bases, supply depots, and command centers with surgical precision. They appeared without warning, destroyed their targets completely, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Valerian soldiers began calling the humans demons and spirits of death. Many simply abandoned their posts rather than face the possibility of encountering human forces. Senator Lim addressed the galaxy from Earth, explaining humanity's terms for peace. Any world that renounces the Valerian Empire and promises to live in peace will be protected. Any species that chooses cooperation over conquest will be welcomed. But any group that continues the Empire's legacy of murder and oppression will be hunted down and eliminated. The message was clear. The galaxy had a choice: join the new order that humanity was creating, or face the same fate as Emperor Vextar and his empire. Dr. Park Min-ho coordinated with resistance movements on dozens of worlds, providing them with weapons and tactical support. Species that had been enslaved for generations suddenly found themselves free to fight back against their oppressors. The humans kept their promise, reported a resistance leader from the Andromeda sector. They said no one would suffer like Kepler 442b again. They were right. Within 6 months, the Valerian Empire was completely destroyed. Every major world had surrendered or been conquered. Every fleet had been eliminated or had defected to the human side. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for a millennium was reduced to scattered groups of refugees. The humans had not just won a war. They had performed the galaxy's most complete military victory in recorded history. They had eliminated an entire interstellar empire while suffering minimal casualties themselves. But more importantly, they had proven that evil could be defeated, that bullies could be stopped, that genocide would have consequences. The galaxy now belonged to those who chose peace over conquest, and humanity stood ready to make sure it stayed that way. President Yoon Jae-min stood at the podium in the Great Assembly Hall on Earth, looking out at delegates from 300 different worlds. 6 months had passed since the fall of the Valerian Empire, and the galaxy was learning to live without fear for the first time in centuries. Today marks the beginning of a new age, President Yoon announced to the gathered representatives, an age where strength protects the innocent instead of destroying them, an age where diversity is celebrated instead of eliminated. The United Galactic Assembly had been established on Earth, but it worked differently than the old Valerian system. Instead of one species ruling over all others, every world had an equal voice. Decisions were made through cooperation and compromise, not through threats and violence. Director Kim Min-jung oversaw the massive rehabilitation effort across former Valerian space. Human medical teams worked alongside local doctors to heal populations that had suffered under imperial rule for generations. The Valerians didn't just hurt people with weapons. Director Kim explained to her staff. They damaged entire cultures, destroyed languages, and broke family bonds. Healing these wounds will take decades, but we have to try. On the former slave world of Kepler 186b, Human engineers worked with local populations to rebuild cities that had been destroyed during the Imperial occupation. Instead of imposing human designs, they helped the native species create settlements that fit their own cultural needs. The Carillion people, who breathed a different atmosphere than humans, received atmospheric processors that allowed them to restore their polluted homeworld. The Deneb miners got new technology that made their dangerous jobs safer and more profitable. The humans could have made us dependent on them, said Elder Thekmore of the Carillion Council. Instead, they gave us tools to solve our own problems. This is what true strength looks like. General Choi Hyunwoo established the Never Again protocols, a galaxy-wide defense network designed to prevent future genocides. Human technology was shared with peaceful species, creating a mutual defense system that could respond to threats anywhere in known space. We're not building an empire, General Choi explained to new Galactic Defense Force recruits. We're building an immune system. When a disease threatens the body, every part works together to fight it off. The defense network included early warning systems that could detect hostile military buildups, rapid response fleets that could reach threatened worlds within days, and communication networks that ensured no world would ever again face extinction alone. Dr. Park Min-ho led the Interspecies Council, where former enemies learned to work together toward common goals. The council included scientists, diplomats, and cultural leaders from dozens of species. The Valerians ruled through fear and separation, Dr. Park observed. They convinced species that they were too different to cooperate. We're proving that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. The council's first major project was establishing universal medical standards. Human doctors shared their knowledge of biological warfare defense, while alien physicians contributed treatments for diseases that humans had never encountered. Captain Lee Dong-soo, now Admiral of the Galactic Defense Force, commanded fleets that included ships and crews from many different species. His flagship, the Unity, had Carillion atmospheric specialists, Deneb engineering experts, and human weapons officers working side by side. A year ago, these species were enemies or strangers, Admiral Lee reflected. Now they trust each other with their lives. That's the real victory we achieved. The transformation was not just military. Trade networks that had been controlled by Valerian tax collectors became free markets where all species could prosper. Scientific research that had been restricted to imperial laboratories became collaborative efforts involving the galaxy's best minds. Ambassador Ryu Tae-ho worked with planetary governments to establish new legal systems based on cooperation rather than domination. The old imperial laws that had legalized slavery and genocide were replaced with codes that protected individual rights and cultural autonomy. Justice isn't about making the strong stronger, Ambassador Ryu explained to newly liberated worlds. It's about making sure everyone has a chance to live in peace and dignity. The rehabilitation efforts were not without challenges. Some former Valerian worlds struggled with the transition to democracy. A few military commanders tried to establish their own small empires, only to be quickly defeated by the combined forces of the Galactic Defense Force. But for every problem that arose, the galaxy's new cooperative approach found solutions. Species that had been enemies under Valerian rule learned to work together. Worlds that had been isolated for centuries joined the galactic community. The economic transformation was especially dramatic. Former slave worlds that had been forced to export all their resources to the Empire now kept their wealth for local development. Mining colonies that had been stripped bare received new technology to restore their ecosystems. We went from having nothing to having hope, said mining supervisor Dalkoth of the Asteroid Belt Workers Collective. The humans didn't just defeat our oppressors. They gave us a future. Education became another priority. The Valerians had forbidden most species from learning advanced sciences or developing new technologies. The new galactic government established schools and research institutes on every world that wanted them. Human teachers worked with local educators to create curricula that preserved individual cultures while sharing knowledge freely. Children who had grown up expecting lives of servitude learned that they could become scientists, artists, leaders, or anything else they chose. Then came news that tested the new galactic order. Long-range sensors detected a massive fleet approaching from beyond the galaxy's edge. The hegemony of Xerion, another hostile empire, was expanding toward civilized space. They have 15,000 ships, reported the sensor. Technician to Admiral Lee. Energy signatures indicate technology at least as advanced as the Valerians. Had Ambassador Ryu received the first communication from the hegemony. It was a simple message. Surrender your worlds and resources to the hegemony or be eliminated. You have 10 standard days to comply. The message was broadcast to every world in the galaxy, just as the Valerians had done with their genocide footage. But this time, the galaxy's response was different. Never again, replied President Yoon on behalf of the United Galactic Assembly. The age of empires ruling through fear is over. If you want war, you will face not just humanity, but every free species in the galaxy. Within hours, ships from hundreds of worlds began moving toward the threat. Carillion atmospheric fighters joined human stealth vessels. Deneb engineering ships provided support to multi-species battle fleets. Former enemies stood together against the new threat. Admiral Lee commanded the combined galactic fleet from the Bridge of the Unity. Around him, officers from dozens of species worked at their stations with perfect coordination. "This is Admiral Lee Dong-soo of the Galactic Defense Force," he broadcast to the approaching hegemony fleet. "You are entering sovereign space of free worlds. Turn back now or face the consequences." The hegemony commander responded with arrogance typical of galactic bullies. "We are the hegemony of Zirion. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your primitive alliance cannot stand against us." "We'll see about that," Admiral Lee replied calmly. The battle that followed became known as the Defense of Freedom. The hegemony's 15,000 ships faced a combined galactic fleet of 8,000 vessels. The hegemony had superior numbers and advanced technology, but they faced something they had never encountered before: an entire galaxy united in defense of peace. Human kinetic weapons punched through hegemony shields while Carillion fighters attacked from unexpected angles. Deneb engineering ships repaired damaged vessels in real time while former Valerian crews, now fighting for freedom instead of conquest, provided tactical expertise. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the hegemony fleet was completely destroyed. Not a single enemy ship escaped to report back to their empire. More importantly, not a single allied world was damaged. The galaxy's new defense network had worked perfectly. "Let this be a message to any other empire that thinks about conquering free worlds," Admiral Lee broadcast to the galaxy. "We are united now. We protect each other. We remember what happens to those who choose genocide over mercy." The victory celebration lasted for weeks across hundreds of worlds. But President Yoon reminded everyone that vigilance was eternal. "Freedom isn't something you win once and keep forever," he told the Galactic Assembly. "It's something you have to defend every day. And as long as species choose cooperation over conquest, we will be ready to defend it." Dr. Park Min-ho looked at the latest reports from the Interspecies Council. Trade was flourishing. Scientific research was advancing faster than ever before. Art and culture were spreading between worlds that had been isolated for centuries. "We didn't just defeat an empire," Dr. Park reflected. "We proved that the galaxy can be better, that different species can work together, that strength used for protection is always stronger than strength used for conquest." The transformation was complete. In less than a year, humanity had gone from potential victims to the galaxy's protectors. Not through conquest or domination,